Hello everyone, welcome to African Review with your host Bahran. Happy African Liberation Day to you all. We are celebrating African Liberation Day and we have so many beautiful programs about Africa and related to African issues, and you will enjoy it. It have so much more entertainments, and we are going to talk about so much things about Africa, and we will highlight what Africa should look like, how our Africa would look like, and what kind of things Africa is about. These all things are going to be reviewed by our program. All you have to do is to stay with me at Arts Television and watch African Review with your host Bahran. Enjoy the program. As we are celebrating African Liberation Day, there are so many things we can talk about Africa and how Africa can be united together. And one of the uniting thing for African countries is through economy. So we are going to discuss about the African Free Continental Trade Area. And this continental trade area is the largest next to the World Trade Organization, and it's found in 2018. And Ghana, the capital city of Accra, served as the secretariat of this trade continental area. And it was handed over in 2018 to the AU chairman. So this trade area, the whole idea is about so that African countries, all African countries have different minerals, different things they can share to the neighboring African countries and to the whole continent. Just to make it simple, for example, let's see Kenya and Nigeria. Kenya is a major exporter of flour to other countries, but Nigeria imports flour from Netherlands. The same is true for Kenya. Kenya imports palm oil from Malaysia, but Nigeria is a major exporter of palm oil to the rest of the world. So this African Continental Free Trade Area makes sure this African countries can exchange what they have through the continent. This is just an example we pick in Kenya and Nigeria, but the whole Africa have different minerals and they can share what they have through the African countries. The whole idea is to share what they have within the continent. This African Free Continental Trade Area was first launched on 2012 in the African Union Summit here in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia. Then, so the agreement was they're going to have a free continental trade area by 2017. So following these years, there was so many negotiations so that this can be achieved in the continent. So major sessions starting from the launching 2018, following to in 2017 in Johannesburg, and through those years, major sessions, major discussions have been done on this continental area. So 8 major sessions for the team to agree on the continental trade area, and 4 major sessions have been done with the technical team. This was important because this continental free trade areas need ratification among the countries, among those partners going to be, because it have its own binding rules. We are discussing about African Free Continental Trade Area because we are celebrating African Liberation Day. We have much more to come. All you have to do is to stay on Arts Television and enjoy African Review. We are on African Liberation Day and we are celebrating the Liberation Day of Africa, and happy African Liberation Day to you all once again. Before the music, we were discussing about the African Free Continental Trade Area, and as I have told you, 8 sessions and 4 sessions from the technical team has been conducted, and it was presented to the African Union Ministry of Trade leaders on March 8 and 9 on 2018. Following that, it was the 10th extraordinary session of the African Union, and 3 agreements have been presented to the session. The first one is the African Free Continental Trade Area, the other is the Kigali Declaration, and the third one is the Protocol of Free Movement of a Person. Just to highlight what the declaration are about, is the Kigali Declaration is where the African Free Continental Trade Area was first launched, and following that there was the agreement. The protocol for free movement is that to have a free visa for a person to move around Africa. This was important because as we are talking about a free trade area, people who service the product or the services should be able to access other African countries. So these 3 major agreements have been presented to the session, and it was also had a very long negotiation for ratification and signatory. But even if this have been presented to the extraordinary section, it was not easy for leaders to sign it, especially South Africa and Nigeria. Notable countries in the continent didn't agree, and these are the two major countries, especially in economy. So it needed some discussion and negotiation to countries to sign and ratify this agreement. The other point why this was not just successful or needed a very long negotiation is that it is expected to have at least a tariff discount that have been agreed and should be signed or should be part of the document. So tariff has been an income for so many countries due to lack of the economic, but since we are talking about Africans should have an access to that, the tariff minimization was important, and this has been difficult for many countries. Even though there are up and downs, this have been ratified by 54 countries out of the 55 countries in the continent. It was launched on January 2021. Due to the pandemic, initially it was expected to be launched on June 2020, but the pandemic all over the world have able to push the launching date to January 2021. You are watching African Review, and we are talking about African Free Continental Trade Area on African Liberation Day. Enjoy the program, and I'll be back. You are watching African Review with your host Bahran. We are celebrating African Liberation Day, and we are talking about African Free Continental Trade Area because when we talk about the Liberation Day, we want to talk about the unity, and one of the ways Africa can be united is through trade and economy. So we are just giving you a background how the African Free Trade Area was negotiated and how currently it's working and why it is important to have this. So I have, as we have discussed, and show you how the negotiation went, and once it was ratified, and currently 54 countries have signed the agreement out of the 55 countries in Africa, which Eritrea is only left, and it's expected once it is the peaceful between Ethiopia and Eritrea has been done in 2018, Eritrea is expected to sign this agreement. Yet, even if 54 countries have signed this agreement, it needs ratification because there are rules and regulations that the countries should go through and should also be binded by. Because it needed a ratification, now 34 countries have ratified it, and it's going to go through some major activities because they already have the major votes of the countries. So the major question is why this African trade area is important. Just to make it simple, let's use this a number. The African Free Continental Trade Area is going to bring 1.3 billion people together, and it will make the economy in trillion. Exactly $3.4 trillion. This is a huge number for Africa. It is expected to solve so many problems and to make the African countries united. More than that, African countries, all African countries especially, have different resources. I have said that Kenya can give flour and Nigeria can give palm oil in exchange. So every African country have different resources, different culture, different way of working things together. So bringing this in one and doing exchanging experiences is going to boost African energy, because Africans, we all have everything. We have the resources, we have the manpower, and we have all expected to have a great economy of the continent and to have a united continent. So we are expecting a huge change regarding the economy in Africa, because of the African Free Trade Area. You are watching African Review, and we are talking about African Free Trade Area while we are celebrating African Liberation Day. We have so much more about African Liberation Day. All you have to do is to stay with Arts TV and African Review. I'll be back. Enjoy the program. Hi everyone, welcome to African Review with your host Bethlehem Bahran. As you know, African Review will highlight news, information, views, and so much more about African culture and society, including African relation to the rest of the world. And today, in highlighting of the African Liberation Day, we are going to have a special program forwarding for you. All you have to do is to stay with me and to enjoy the program. We are celebrating African Liberation Day, and as an African and as an Ethiopian, especially as Ethiopian who contributed a lot for the achievement of the Pan-African and an independent Africa. I want to say happy African Liberation Day to you all. And my Africa, I believe, is represented in a very wrong way. When people say Africa, they think about poor continent that is full of terrorists or a place of that is war. But I believe my Africa is represented and said about Africa is very wrong. Africa is a very beautiful continent and a very beautiful countries coming together with different kind of colors and harmonies, having a very beautiful culture, society, and a way of life. It might seem that things are not on the right tracks today. It's like Africa might not come fully together, but this day is not going to be far from today, as because who we are, the African colors are now growing in so many people, especially on the younger generations. And until we come together, until we form a united States of Africa, we might not reach the way we want, but once it comes together, I believe the true color of Africa will show. I believe the true color I see in my Africa will be seen to the rest of the world. Happy African Liberation Day. You can share to Arts Television what your Africa look like. You can text us on our SMS or give us what your opinion in social media. Happy African Liberation Day. We have much more to come. Stay with us.
And we believe that the time has come to unite these 400 million people for the one common purpose of bettering their condition. And it is for this purpose that we are asking you to join our ranks and to do the best you can to help us to bring about an emancipated race.
At the Organization of African Unity, now the African Union, was established in 1963, and one of the aims is to unite Africa and to have a common goal for African and for Africans. So this Pan-African movement was part of the Organization of African Unity goal, so that the African Union can strengthen those communities and toward for the common goal of Africa. So in the formation of the Organization of African Unity, now the African Union, one of the aim was African leaders coming together so that there is an independent African that works for herself and to solve African problem by their own. So this Pan-African movement have started in different areas, and the president of Ghana, Kwame Nkrumah, gathers the African leaders back in the days who were dependent or who were not under the colony of the Europeans, come together and says they have to fight against this colonialism era. So the first Pan-African movement was so that they can fight the colonialists and to have a free continent. So these leaders come together. There were 32 free states back in the days, and they come together so that they can show how African can strengthen when they come together, and so they can help other movements, especially in Algeria and South Africa, was back in the days fighting for their freedom. So that this Pan-African movement back in the days was so that they can strengthen. The movement is to for countries that were not able to free themselves from the colonialist era. So here in Ethiopia, because they were not colonized for any time, they were supporting especially how they can be free and how this can be a role model for all the Pan-Africans today we have. You are watching African Review, and we are talking about the Pan-African movement and the Pan-Africanists because we are celebrating the African Liberation Day. Once again, happy African Liberation Day, and we are celebrating African Liberation Day, and we are talking about so much more about what Africa have, and now we are going to highlight you about Pan-Africanism and the Pan-African movement in Africa and the rest of the world. So the Pan-African movement was started so that both the African people who are living in Africa and the diasporas coming together to strongest, as they are the descent of the African, to the strengths and to become united, having the common goal in strengthening Africa. So the first movement was here in Africa, and it was led by the late Ghanaian president Kwame Nkrumah. Before that, as African was part of Africa was colonized by the European and French colonists. Many movements have been uprising in Africa so that Africa can be an independent state and an independent continent.
It is my great pleasure to welcome you to Accra and to this conference of African freedom fighters and supporters of the growing movement for Africa's liberation and unity. It is good for our cause to have a periodic meeting of this kind to examine our position in the great struggle to rid Africa completely and forever of imperialism and its handmaidens, colonialism and neocolonialism.
So as we have said, Kwame Nkrumah have played a very huge role in having this a Pan-African and a Pan-Africanist concept. The first Pan-African conference was held by the initiation of Kwame Nkrumah in Accra. And they have invited delegates to come to Accra and to discuss the current situation of Africa and how Africa can be free and how Africa can work. So the idea is to have the United States of Africa, and Africans that can work and that can do things for their continent. Following the first conference, the Pan-African conference in Accra, the second conference was done in the capital city of Ethiopia, Addis Ababa, and these conferences have been going on, and leaders have started coming up together to have an idea and to develop an idea that can free Africa and that can have a continent that is strong and that can stand by themselves. These conferences have been going on for a very long time until all African states have been free from the colonials this era, and this movement have put a very strong ideology for those who were under the colonialists to free their countries and to be part of this movement. So the Pan-African and the Pan-Africanism ideology have played a great role in defining Africa and how Africa should roll and how Africa should work. And these milestones have been going on for several times, including today. Currently, as the ideology is growing and almost all over the world is having this concept, these universities start giving this concept or this ideology as part of a study, and these studies are found in the University of California and so much more as being called the Pan-African studies or teaching the Pan-African movement. And the world find it to be very interesting because this ideology can be leading a concept for the world now that can use to solve their own problems, and this ideology is now become part of the university's study, and people can actually choose and to study the Pan-African concept. As the ideology or the movement has been evolving from the colonialist era to now today, because there is no colony, we can say that the ideology is growing through people and even through the world, from the Africans and the rest of the world, from the president Kwame Nkrumah, and today's all people that believes in the Pan-African movement are now doing what they have to do for Africa. All the indigenous peoples and the diasporas that have an African descent are now working as this concept, so African can have their own platform, so African can represent themselves. Some things are changed through the world as the globalization is affecting our world, but we have to look like what we are. We have to say, feel, do things not according to people who set the rules, but because we are that, because we have to do that. And Pan-African movement has set the first stone so that Africans and people who believe in the African movement can look like what they are. Africans can have their own color, Africans can set rules as the way they like it, and this movement have been the very huge stones for today's what we see in the world. Africans start from the colonialist era where they are treated as a slave. Now they are presidents, leaders, and they are the one who have with a huge brain to contribute to the world and for the developments as well. So this Pan-Africanism era, starting from the colony today to the current area, are contributing so much more for the world. And as It is a huge organization and it is believed by so many Africans and peoples outside Africa. It has its own color, it has its own movement today, depending on what the issue is and how it should look like. You are watching African Review. We are talking about Pan-Africanism and the Pan-Africanism era, starting from back and today how it looks like. I hope you are enjoying it. Stay with me. I hope you enjoy all our programs and I hope you get something about Africa and how our Africa look like. We have discussed about the African Free Continental Trade Area and Pan-Africanism, and as an Ethiopian and as an African, I want to say Happy African Liberation Day to you all who are celebrating this idea, about who have the feeling about Pan-Africanism. I want to say Happy African Liberation Day. I hope you enjoy our program. Until next week, thank you so much. And all the dresses you have seen on the program, including this, is designed by Rahu. Rahu is found in Aulo building around Bole. You can come and visit her. She has so much beautiful clothes. You can come and see. Till next week. Bye-bye.